We here, y'all. We here, man.
Do the dance.
Look, let me just first thank each and every one of y'all for just being on an episode of the Seat at the Table. We've been doing this for some time, and the whole intent purpose of this is just having some of these tough conversations that are impacting or important in our community. The one topic that I think is prevalent and important, I really want to talk about, is this concept of entrepreneurship. Like, we hear about it, there's a lot of buzz around it, man, but I wanted to dig into it, and I'm really excited specifically with the panel because you guys, in my opinion, are not just entrepreneurs, but you're successful at it. So let's kick it off this way. I want to just not just for me, because I know you guys, but even the audience, everybody just introduce yourself and just tell us what your hustle, so to speak, is. Like, what do you do as an entrepreneur? We're gonna start this way and work our back. So, Love, we're gonna go with you.
Just kidding. My name is Lisa Buzon, better known as Love. I'm a DJ, cyclist, artist management. I wear a lot of different hats. I'm an owner of a lifestyle and events company called Chilltown Collective, and I love supporting artists and just the craft through music, through support, and I love building communities and teaching others about wellness through cycling, and that's what I do.
So dope. Love it. We'll go with you.
Nice to meet you guys, and thank you, Buga. Thank you, Buga, for having us.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited, man.
Everybody, what's up? I'm Eric Hall. I'm a musician. I play a couple of instruments. I write, performer. I'm a creative, and I have a couple companies. One of does artist development. It's called 2020 Music Group. Also, I have my own production company called Natural High Productions, and I do songs like that. You know what I mean? Simple songs, complicated songs. Doesn't matter. Okay, we're gonna get you right here.
Mr. Softy Bang.
He's a classic.
No, wrote that. We need a publisher for that.
Okay.
we go way back with the Mr. Softy.
Okay. Love it. When I do that, I produce. I also have a company called the Hue Group. So we started a company for it's a cartoon for that has a lot of black characters. I feel like we're missing that. And I do all the music for it. I sing, perform it. It's out now on YouTube. So I do a lot of different things. I try to wear different hats, but definitely overall, I would say I'm a creator and a musician.
Awesome. Dope. Alvin, what do you?
My name is Lorenzo Gatson. I'm a producer. I own several recording studios and also a hairstylist on the side.
Come on, several.
Yeah, he's my
I
barber.
heard that.
He's my barber.
So,
Good stuff.
that's what I do.
So,
Hey y'all, my name is Shy. I'm a TV personality, actress, a freelancer, creative. Probably be here tomorrow. I'm a millennial. I'm a hustler. No, you feel me?
Yeah, hey.
I do it all, and I just basically own my own brand. Talk about whatever I want to talk about on television in my own digital. So I own myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am the brand.
Yeah.
And that's just
That's
is
right.
what it is.
I love it. Taz?
Hi everyone, my name is Taz Aaliyah. I'm actually in the beauty industry, but I'm a creative. I'm a 24/7 creative. I actually quit my corporate job to become a full-time creative.
Yes.
And I own a private label company that does chemical formulations for retail brands.
Okay.
That is so dope.
That is so different.
It is.
Now, but look, so Jody Wange, obviously founder of this Wange Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization. While I'm not a serial entrepreneur, I'm a big fan of the concept of actually going out there and chasing your dreams and passion. So look, let's start this, man, because I think, again, there's a lot of buzz of entrepreneurship, specifically in our communities. And I would love to kind of just get some ideas to not even ideas, but some thoughts on how do we think entrepreneurship can really impact and change the trajectory of our community? Because the reality is, folks in our community are hurting financially. A lot of people have dead-end jobs they're not proud of. So I guess, what do we see the role of entrepreneurship really lifting our community?
Well, I think entrepreneurship gives you an opportunity to kind of get rid of anchors that makes you kind of forced into a society and a community that is not necessarily beneficial for your people. At a young age, it basically indoctrinates you into believing in a system that is not for your people. So I think having that entrepreneurship type of mentality in our community would be super beneficial for us keeping our community. Jersey City is not Jersey City that I grew up in anymore. And a lot of the resources that are given to Jersey City is not in the area that I grew up in. It's like two completely different cities. And even when I go back now, I'm happy that there are new businesses. I'm grateful that there are new opportunities for people, but it's really sad not seeing the people that I know. They're all transplants now, you know. I mean, I have nothing against people who transplant and, you know, gentrification in that sense, but I think that it really does negatively impact our people when we can't retain places or resources that are familiar to us. It gets lost, you know, our history gets lost, where we come from gets lost. So I think it's a hugely important thing for us.
I think personally, outside of like the resources financially, entrepreneurship, it gives you a sense of power. I think we come up in a system where you don't have no power. I'm telling you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and if you don't do it the way I said do it, you know, then you're lost. And with that is not empowering to anybody. So basically someone else is controlling my lifestyle. So how it can impact our community is it gives you a sense of ownership that, hey, I have the power to dictate whatever I want to dictate and move it to whatever heights I want to move it to. That in itself can empower you within yourself. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to entrepreneurship.
I mean, like, but I don't know, for me, I grew up in more of an old school house. We didn't really teach like entrepreneurship. It was, you gotta go to school, you gotta get straight A's, because the college degree is the only thing
that matters.
That matters. I don't know if we cultivate it. So I think part of me I want to understand is how are we like raising the next generation? Like, what are we doing as a community? Is this something that we preach? Is it frowned upon? Like,
I think we're a little bit different nowadays. If you think about it, like entrepreneurship, especially when it comes down to our people, especially after this pandemic era, like everybody is, even if they scamming now. I can't talk about the scamming finesses, but what I will say, everybody got something that they trying to move now. And a lot of people are going to be like, you know, you see on social media like, oh, you're not a real owner, you're not a real business ownership, but it's the thought that counts. It's that seed that is being planted. It's a societal norm now, where it's just like, oh, you're not an entrepreneur? So what you doing with your life? So I think it's uplifted. The last generation, you got to remember though, even though we got to be a little bit sensitive with them and like forgiving.
That's what they knew.
Because that's all they knew, and they were coming up in a time period where it was a lot of like racism and just, you know, even though we're still dealing with racism, that era was just like, look, if we don't abide by the system that's set up for us, you're not going to make it. So that's their mentality.
Less opportunities back in those times. I think that was the main reason for back in the days. But entrepreneur is key. Just like example for my family, we always owned all of our businesses. From my brother, like, you know, my brother's business, my clothing stores. We always had our own business. So I think it's really key, because at the end of the day, you want to do for your family. You don't want to be dependent on corporate business. What if they fire you? That's it. You have no other
Can I
source
interject
of
really
income.
quick? I'm sorry. So I have a son. He's 14, and I come from a family of immigrants. I was born in Guyana, so our idea of success meant for us to leave the environment that we were in, come to America and build and be better. The only way that my family knew how to do that is by assimilating into a system that was already created, right? There is no time to think about dreams or think about how to be greater than what your purpose is in that moment. It's about survival. So I feel like for my parents and the people that are immigrants like myself, I speak to a lot of people about this because this is something that's very, very deep and heavy for me. I feel the most important thing is to let your children know that it's okay to be themselves and be expressive. Because I did not have that when I was growing up. And that caused a lot of uncertainty within myself. It made me block a lot of my greatness. It made me dim my light in so many ways. And raising my son and having him see and experience me being an entrepreneur and doing things for myself and telling him that he can do it as well, he made me this bracelet. Right, right. But that's what I do. You know, I make jewelry and stuff like that. So me seeing him doing that makes me believe and know that us fostering those beliefs in our kids and making them feel that they can do anything, I think that is hugely key for us to turn that wave of acceptance and, you know, going along with whatever, you know, people tell us to do. We have to spark thinkers.
Yes.
And if you don't have thinkers, you don't have people with new ideas that are comfortable enough to be confident in order to push those ideas out.
Absolutely.
I agree. So, Lo, let me ask you. Growing up in your household, what was the narrative? Was it like...
Same. I mean, my parents are immigrants. They both came from the Philippines. It was my grandfather who first came here, and then my mom has 12 brothers and sisters. More than half of them made it to the US, so like, thank God for my tatay for getting us all here to like live a better life. But my parents were very much the same way. They wanted me to have the 9 to 5, and it wasn't until they wanted me to have a 9 to 5. No, they wanted me to become a nurse. Let me rephrase that. As a Filipino American, they wanted me to become a nurse, and I tried.
Wow, nurse to DJ.
I know.
I want to get to that.
I tried. I didn't want to disappoint them because I'm an only child. And I was a patient care technician for a dialysis center for 2 years. And being there, I was like, this is cool. Like, I love helping people. Like, I feel like that's my purpose. But also, I was like, I feel like there's something out there that's bigger than this. Like, I can still do this, and I want to, but I feel like there's other ways I could help others, which led me to my first corporate job at a private intimates label. First and last ever corporate job. It was not the best experience for me, and it wasn't until then I decided to become an entrepreneur, and that's when I got into artist management and promotion, music promotion.
How did that conversation happen with your parents, though? Like, when you told them, like, look,
Oh, they were like, failure right there. It was hard. It was so hard, but I was like, I need to be brave, and that drove me to like really like push myself, like
To prove them wrong.
Yeah, of course. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. Like, really. Like, I didn't have a lot of mentors, which is like really important now for like the youth. I feel like there's a lot more. Like, the OGs were there, but we kind of learned from their mistakes. They weren't really guiding us. Some were, but for me, I've always longed for a mentor, and I never got it. So I was just like, F it. Like, I'm gonna do it. If I mess up, then I'm gonna find another way to make it happen. So that all those like mistakes, all those learning experiences led me to where I am today.
Yes.
Failure is so important, you know?
Yeah.
When you fail at everything, you realize what works.
Definitely.
You gotta be okay with failing.
Yeah.
You gotta be okay being whack for a little bit.
But
You don't want to be popping right away.
It's a necessary part of growth.
You gotta be whack. I'm just saying.
It's so true, though. It's
Especially
really
in
true.
basketball,
It's so
like
true.
if you shoot
It's
your
so
first
true.
shot and you whack, that doesn't mean you're gonna be whack
But
forever.
why,
It just means
but
you just need to
why
let
did,
it
because
go.
you're right, you bring up a good point. Like,
No,
this
it
idea
is.
of, why do we struggle with that, though, so much?
Ego.
It is ego, 1000% ego.
Ego, but
Ego.
also it's not being confident. See, when you know who you are and you know where you're going,
But
that goes
it
back
don't
to
even-
ego.
Yeah.
Our ego tells us that we are not accepting of our gifts. Like, our ego is basically telling us, screw you, universe, screw you, God, screw you, energy, whatever it is you believe in. I know better, and I suck. Like, that's what our ego tells us.
And with the lack of confidence, because it's just like when you have, especially, I know I can be like this. Not saying like I don't mind falling in front of people now. Not now, but back then, like when you have people watching you, the pressure of like, oh, I have to make it because if I fall, that means everybody's going to be laughing. That was me when I wasn't confident. Correct. Now it's like, oh no, I already bet on myself. I know where I'm going. So even if I fall, you guys won't have the last laugh because I know where I'm going. That speaks from a confidence level.
But
you know what I'm saying?
you don't feel like, so I agree with that, but that need for a cheerleader though, like somebody.
Oh yeah.
And when I think of even your story, Love, like Your parents, man. Yo, I don't know about y'all, but growing up, that was my biggest. I got A's because I wanted my dad to say, "I'm proud of you, son." You know what I'm saying? Like, that was
Your biggest motivation.
You know what I'm saying? So, but then to your point, at the same time, I think a lot of it is what they know. Like, this is what success. They just don't want to see you struggling.
Exactly.
They don't want to see you poor.
They want what's best for you.
Correct. And there was a season. Entrepreneurship was another word for unemployed, which meant broke.
Yeah.
At least back in the day. You know
No,
what I'm
real.
saying?
And it still means a little bit to
Yeah,
now.
no, but there's a
You're
buzz
going
around
to
it.
have broke days. We have to stop with this lie.
Yeah.
Like, we gotta really start just telling the truth of entrepreneurship. Let me tell you, to get to the spot where I'm at to this day, you know, a lot of times people be like, yo, what you do is crazy, like glitz, glam. I don't know what people be talking about. Yo, I slept in my car for over 6 months in a period of time. Didn't tell my parents that because that's come home.
Correct,
you know what I'm
correct,
saying?
correct,
Like,
correct.
I spent a lot of days broke. To be an entrepreneur, you're gonna have to okay with taking some L's financially. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people, they can't do it. And everybody's not meant to be an entrepreneur. It's something I've learned as well.
Correct.
You're not the man to be the boss.
Everybody ain't in.
Everybody's not a boss. You gotta be built for this. Like, it's just the truth of it.
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt a lot of people, but your mixtape, if you don't, if you don't, no, I'm not talking about you. But what I'm saying to you is, if you're not very passionate, and you can't make the sacrifices of the cuts, of the brutalness of being an entrepreneur, you won't make it.
Yeah.
You're not built for it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think a lot of people see, again, the buzz. But they don't see the dirt.
They don't
You
see
know
none
what
of
I'm
it.
saying? And there's a lot of dirt. And look, we're gonna get into that because I do want to spend a little time unpacking like what does it take to be successful and so forth. But just kind of leaning back into this whole community thing. And you mentioned your family was kind of entrepreneurial, so it wasn't.
That's dope.
In that case, were you exposed to a lot of that at a young age? Did that inspire you to say, "Yo, I can do it"? Did your family
Yes.
give you a space to do it?
Totally, it inspired me to do for myself. Just seeing how they ran they arcade / gym, lumber company, all in this one spot. So that definitely inspired me. Like I said, you see how my little brother, he had a store in West Side. Me with the barbershop and my own recording studio. That definitely motivated me. Early on, actually, when I was in high school, I knew I wasn't gonna work for anybody. So I knew right away. I knew.
That's power in that, though.
is,
Like
man.
a legacy of entrepreneur. That's powerful.
And I don't think I want to see more of that. I ain't gonna lie. I think the entrepreneur is one of those key things that can really lift a generation of people of color, specifically Black people, but just lift our community up. Now, let me ask you this, because I want to shift to school, because we talk about this nurturing. The reality is, it's not just our parents that help raise us. We spend a lot of time in schools. So I guess the question is, what can the school system do to create a space that's nurturing and growing entrepreneurs?
They actually have to care first.
I'm following you.
It's not.
That's step one.
At the end of the day, we have a system and we live in a society where the taxes that we pay fund the things for us, right? And unfortunately, we have a disproportion in how those funds are spent.
Right.
We have so much money being spent on defense and nothing spent on education. So when I moved out of Jersey City specifically to go to a public school district that is good enough for my son, because I can't afford to pay private school in Jersey City. I can't afford to pay for any of that here, but I want him to get the best education possible. The only way for me to do that is to pick myself up and move to a place that has an education system that funds, and their priority is to fund the schools so that they can go on trips, so that they can have these. My son takes part in robotics competitions. He would not have been able to do that if he was out here. You know what I mean? So I think the first thing is that the disproportion between Democratic cities and Republican cities and how those funds are spent, that is the key issue. We need to actually be at these meetings and talk about finances and talk about budgeting, because our kids will not get resources.
And you know, this may be a little on the opposing side, but this is just something that I've learned for myself. And I don't have any children, but what I would probably be teaching my future seeds is that it's not the school's job. You know what I'm saying? Just me personally, I see the way the school is set up. I see the way the system is set up. It is my job as the parent to make sure that my children know that they can be entrepreneurs. And the reason why I say this is because if you see the way the system is designed, it's not designed for you to be a boss. They tell you when to get up, when to eat, when to go. That's just it, bottom line. And then they push you into college, which most of us went to, and got our degrees.
Yep.
It's setting you up to be a worker. But living in Los Angeles has taken my mind to another place. Because when I'm with my peers who make 5 times as much as me, and I'm trying to study them and see what they have done, I have learned they didn't go to college. They're not in debt like I am, and they nine times out of 10, by the time senior year, they were off going to create for themselves. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's at 17 and 18. And I'm like, well, where did they get that from? They got that from their parents. Okay, well, who are your parents? Well, my parents are the 1%. Okay, hold on. You guys are teaching something different than where I come from and my community is teaching. So what I'm saying to you is that, yes, the schools can help. Yes, they can create change. That's great, and we can be hopeful. But as a parent, it is my job to self-educate them first. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what teacher Ms. Leonard is teaching you over there, but what I'm teaching you here is that you will not be oppressed and you will not be on the bottom of the food chain.
So this is my counter to this, because I just had my son who was in school get taken out of school and thrown into a whole system where he's not at home, right? So prior to this pandemic and the lockdown, first of all, I am the most vocal person there is when it comes to changing how we consume, changing your minds about how we consume and the things that we buy and how we associate ourselves in society, right? Yeah. I am from a corporate background. I've been in corporate America since I was 14, got my first financial license at 18. So I've been in this system for a very long time. My son gets the absolute foundation when it comes to you do not need anyone to tell you how it is that you need to live your life. He gets all of the independent education that he needs from me. Yeah. And it's just how I am with all of my siblings. The thing about it is that every kid thrives differently. My son is highly educated, a straight A student. This is the first year that he's failed anything because he is competitive. He's not only internally competitive, but he needs to be in a classroom where he sees other kids asking questions or, doing different things, because that's what sparks him. That's what makes him like, oh my God, I gotta do better. I need to do this. These are my ideas. He thrives off of helping other people learn things because that makes him feel superior. That's his ego. We'll work on that. But I honestly do believe that children do need to be in a system or an environment that fosters interaction, social interaction, because that's the only way you learn how to greet a customer, how to relate to somebody else, marketing and selling is all psychology. That's all it is, it's psychology. And you don't get that if you are away from that environment. So I do think that schools do need to be funded better so that our kids can not only learn the things that they're indoctrinating for you for, a way to just go into the system of working, but it needs to be able to help them know that you don't only have to be a lawyer or a doctor. You can be a plumber. These are things that the school do not spend time on.
So
they don't spend time on it. It's the why.
We used to have some of those trades in the school back in the day. No, those were taken away.
Oh, okay.
Right? So think about
your era, probably not my era.
Yeah, well, I was probably really, really young at the time. No, but there was a season where they were trained to be electricians, to be plumbers, to be all these things.
Oh yeah, we had that in high school.
Legit. So
work smarter, not harder is what replaced that ideology.
Yeah.
When I was talking to my guidance counselors when I was going into college, she told me, she was like, the whole ideology of work smarter, not harder, is replaced all of these kids going into these industries that you work with your hands. Because the idea is if you're a lawyer and you're a doctor, you're successful in life.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Tag, a lot of, hate it or love it, a lot of this stuff that we're learning in school today is positioning us to get a job.
1,000%.
So this is, and I'm not saying,
1,000%.
But I'm not saying that this is a bad thing.
Right.
But there are people in these classes that are serial entrepreneurs getting lost. And most of people's eyes, and you probably can touch this, they look at failures because they're getting C's and D's.
Right.
But they're not being challenged. So my question then becomes, is how do we create a space where even entrepreneurs, in addition to could thrive. Because colleges right now, they're offering entrepreneurship. You can get a degree.
Yeah, the curriculum though. You gotta change the curriculum. Fam, they was telling us that Christopher Columbus discovered America. You gotta change the curriculum. This is so much information that we have that as you learned it, like what? So it's the same thing in any type of industry you go in. They just need better curriculum.
Well, the education system was not created for us.
Exactly.
That's the other thing you need to acknowledge.
That's where I got my initial point from. We spend so much time, and this is just me personally, and I don't know if it's the rebel me, but we spend so much time trying to fix what's broken instead of creating, because this is my thing. This is years and years worth of let it be this way. And after a while, you get to see, oh, I see, you don't really want me to be on the other side. You are training me to be under. You're not training me to be on top. Okay, let's talk real boss talk, right? Most bosses got egos, right? Yep. I'm a woman of Christ, okay? So I don't really care about that. I try to help everybody win. We all win. You and me, you know what I'm saying? If we are competitors, we can both sit at the top. That's not the world's mentality. So if I'm a boss and I'm head honcho, what makes you think, and I know that you're smart, and I see a little hustler in you, then I'm gonna teach you to be better than me? I'm not. And I don't need your kids being better than my kids, because somebody's gotta be on the bottom of the food chain.
Can I count?
So go ahead.
So
this is your major companies though.
So this is the thing that I've learned in corporate America, right? I work next to this white lady, this Jewish lady. She was basically the wife of a broker who was training me, who became my partner later on. So I would listen to her on the phone all day, you know, and she wasn't even working. She wasn't. She was raising money for schools, right? She was doing fundraising. So I looked at her and I'm like, how is it that you are able to talk to these people and have them write you checks for $5,000, $10,000? She said, listen, I grew up with a mother who would ask for anything, because the worst that somebody can tell her is no. And if I don't ask for my daughter to get an internship, or if I don't ask for my son to, do volunteer work for this company, or if I don't ask these people that I associate with for these different things, nothing is ever going to happen for my family. Correct. We don't have that mentality because we started so far behind everything else. We don't even know how to talk to ourselves about our own people about simple things like adding your child to your credit card, so that when they're older, they have established credit. These are small things that I didn't know until I got into corporate America and sat next to her. I was like, are you kidding me? This is what we gotta do. Like, I really had to sit down and be like, wow, like what we are taught is not the same thing that they are taught.
Correct. And you're right, a lot of that stuff is learned home. And I think, to your point, look, we have to take responsibility in what we teach our kids.
Yes, sir.
However, the school is taking my tax dollars.
Yeah.
So
you're not there 24/7, so they're gonna learn.
No, that's a fact, though. That's a fact.
So, but I'll give you a case in point, though. And this is one thing. Jay, she went to a charter school in Jersey City for a year, and they had this entrepreneurial financial course for first graders. So you'll have to own your own business, they give you fake money, and you can sell and you can operate with other kids in the class. To me, now granted, charter schools have a little more flexibility on how they build their curriculums, but just having, even just being more intentional, more thoughtful, and those kind of things. And I think that's what I really want to unpack. Look, this is a very passionate thing.
You have the wrong title on here.
What type of hammer you call it?
I do want to draw to one other thing, and I want to get into being a successful entrepreneur. The one thing is just specifically around incarceration. And so, and here's where I'm going with this and why it's connected to entrepreneurship. Incarceration has impacted our community more than anybody else. Matter of fact, if you look at the prisons, I think we make up close to 70% of, but if you look at the population, we're only 12% of, all these African Americans, 12-13% of the country. When they get out, getting a job is almost impossible.
Impossible.
I had a dude in my church, and I'll never forget, young dude came to me, man. He was like, look, bro, and in tears. This is a 23-year-old man, young. He was like, yo, look, I got a daughter. Nobody's hiring me. How am I supposed to feed my kid? I got locked up because he was selling either weed or little small drugs. He got a record. Literally in tears, like, bro, I can't, nobody wants to hire me. And I don't want to go back to selling, but I got no other option. How am I going to put food in the cabinet? So I tell that story because I would love to hear from your guys, how can entrepreneurship be the key to help people who got incarcerated when they come
Only
out?
if you have empathy. If you're an entrepreneur with empathy, then yes. because I feel like a lot of people become entrepreneurs and their idea of being successful is the bottom line. I lose a lot of money and I give away a lot of product every single month because I donate to all the charities that I believe in.
Right.
So it has to be an entrepreneur that actually cares about people, actually cares about mobility, and actually cares about retaining our culture, our history, and our communities.
But if I got, Taz, I hear you, but if I come out of jail, right, and I'm like, I bottom line matters, I gotta feed, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess, can this be the aim? And look, I'm not saying you have to be an empathetic entrepreneur if you're gonna be successful. But I'm just trying to think, what message would we give to the guy who got locked up, who came out, who put his resume in a whole bunch of places, no second chance programs, he wants a shot and he has no idea. Like, what guidance can we give him?
Like, I think back to like the mentorship, that definitely speaks.
For sure.
But as well, I think also, because you said a concept, and I'm going to tie it to the work smarter, work harder. Problem is, the concept is true. You know what I'm saying? If you want it, you can get there 1 year or 10 years. But hard work works, right? And people don't understand that. So speaking to the, to our inmates and to our felons about, like, coming out, just know it can be done. But you're gonna have to work hard. Of course. A lot of times people don't want to work hard. And I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying as far as when I've learned how to be more financially literate, or hey, you can hustle. There's certain hustles I'm like, yo, you can make bread off of this, and I'm just like, I'm not dealing with that hard work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, why the freak would I go on the block and sell lemonade? I'm not doing that all day long. But you could honestly make 100. Look at your Uber drivers, dog. Like, even though it takes a minute to get around, you can make at least a solid 100 in a day. You know what I'm saying? 100 in a day, you do that, you know what I'm saying, 7 days a week, or 6 days a week. Y'all do the math. You can provide, and it's gonna take you some time. You take that money, you invest it here and flip that. So it's all about, I'm gonna talk about, like, I guess the spiritual side of this. It's all about just knowing that you can do it. It's everybody's entrepreneurial rap doesn't look the same.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody's journey's not the same. You can give anybody the tools and the keys to be successful. It doesn't mean they're going to be able to do it the way you did it in the amount of time that you're able to do it. But if you can instill in them some hope and understand that, yo, you are powerful and you are great, then there's nothing they can't do. And I just think that's the most that we can do. Empathize and actually just be there for them. I know a couple people that are coming out of prison. Yo, in Atlanta, they are cracking right now. Like, I know this guy from Jersey, not Jersey City, from Camden. He went to Dog. He went to prison for at least 6-7 years. You know what I'm saying? Did his time for, shooting, whatever. I'm not going to get into case. But the point of the matter is, he owns at least 4 businesses in Atlanta.
Good for him.
And to me personally, he made me look back like, I'm not doing enough. I said, yo, this man got a record. You know what I'm saying?
He make it work.
And he made it work, and he's houses, and I'm like, yo, I don't know houses.
Bro, they got grants for people coming out.
So
I think it's a,
Do they?
we gotta uplift.
I thought about your question. It's a lot heavier than I
I
initially thought.
But we have to be there, and that's why I like her point. Yo, we actually gotta be there. We gotta reach in. You know what I'm saying? They're there. We have to stop being so just me. It's all about me and my family's legacy. No, it should be about your culture. We should be practicing group economics and make sure we are there to uplift people who have fallen. If you don't do that, then what you really doing it for?
So El, you was about to say something.
Yeah, there's many programs now for people that's coming out of prison. Like back in the days, it was limited programs, but now, like my friend, he came home, artist that I actually was working with, he came home and got right into college.
Wow.
So there are
there's programs, just they're not telling.
But how do we get that available, right?
It is.
We need that plug.
There's a lot of people getting into these unions and everything.
That is true. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of dudes that I know
getting
that are
into
doing
unions,
the unions, getting the construction work, and they getting good money.
That's true. That is
Coming
very
straight
true.
out
a lot of
prison.
our community is just the information, yo.
That's
Yeah.
it goes back to
That's
the
the
community.
whole
For the taxes,
That's
I
the
got
whole
LLC. I was like, nah, you can write this. I write up everything. Write this off.
That's the key.
I'm not making that pizza. I'm like,
That's
exactly what's happening.
I need more.
That's the secret. That's the secret of this country. The information.
So it goes back to community.
There's so much
It goes back to
information that they're not
being
telling
open.
us.
The root of it is the community.
Yeah, it goes back to community.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what's interesting? When I started my business, I didn't go to school for chemistry. I didn't do any of that shit. I was, I was in finance. That's what I know for my whole life. And I reached out to somebody who is actually a transplant in Jersey City, and I asked her a simple question, because I had money that I wanted to donate.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I'm like, what charities is it that you are fond of? She was like, why don't you research yourself like I did? And it made me feel so
the ego
terrible. It made me feel so terrible that I was like, oh my God, like I spent months festering over that. But that made me want to learn every single thing I possibly could about what I was venturing into. Now, anybody who has the courage to come to me and ask me a question about anything, I give it to them.
Right.
We do got to
I
do
give
better,
it to
though.
them.
We gotta- I'll be honest, and
Yeah.
keeping our people accountable. We do need to do a better job also sharing
Yes.
information. I do think like there's this fear sometimes that me empowering Eric is going to affect me, right? That is just, you know what I mean?
Step on you.
It's going to step on me, so I can't see him win. So but other communities, I see even in the Jewish community, they do a good job just like, yeah, we all in the same boat. I'm gonna put you on. I'm gonna put you on. I'm gonna put you on. So
It's
look,
unfortunate, but that deals with a lot of just like systemic oppression. Like
Correct.
what has been
Conditioning.
embedded in our communities that look,
Correct.
it can only be one house. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else got to be in the field, so
Our
everybody's trying to be in the house.
traumas are really deep,
It's
and
correct.
I think
Very
we
deep.
are probably, I think millennials are probably the first generation that's actually addressing these traumas
Absolutely.
and trying to break these curses that we've been ingrained with. Because I didn't realize that I was so peppered with so much stuff that I needed to like get rid of, and I still have them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how many years is it going to take?
Yeah.
But it's something that I want to figure out, because I do want to leave this world a better place.
Correct.
I want my son to have better
Yeah,
opportunities.
first generation start going to therapy.
no, hold on, yo.
Therapy.
That's the
I know
other
therapy
thing,
is a real thing.
Hold on.
That I need
Let
in
me
my
tell you something, and you mentioned this earlier, love. That concept of like success defined from our parents, it was like when you weren't as smart, and not to make this specific, but like I remember growing up, a lot of the Filipinos would get straight A's. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just being straight up. I'm just being straight up. Lisa was one of we were getting straight A's. You know what I'm saying? Look, you get straight A's. And I remember, I mean, this is my truth. This is my truth.
I think I know where you're going.
We were in the
Hold on.
same class,
I would get an
remember.
achievement roll, right, which was B's or effort roll, and that was my best. But my dad would always say, "Why can't you be like some of these other kids? They're going to be successful." But it was his way of pushing me to like do better. But I think there's that, for me personally, that traumatic experience or that feeling that success looks like I have to do better in school than this person. Success looks like I have to fit into this, or the reason why I'm getting a nice job for a nice corporation all ties back to what other people think of me,
Right.
and not what I think of myself.
Bro, when I left school, when I left Willie P, I dropped out. I don't have a degree. I pulled a Kanye. I
pulled a Kanye.
Right, no, so I got y'all don't know. I had the opportunity to play American Glass. So I was like, what should I do? And my professors was like, he was like, you should go. My parents was all for it. I did it. It was great, fulfilling. I had friends saying, so you going back to college after this, right? I said, well, why? Well, you just need a plan B. And I would say, ain't no plan B. Like, I love music. It's what I do. I'm good at it. I got my foot in the door now. I'm on tour. And it's just like you said, it's what people think. It could be your friends, your family. I actually had like someone really beat me, like, nah, you need to go back to college. I'm like, for what? I'm a music performer. So I'm going to get a degree telling you I can perform better? Like, what I need to be I'm performing that guy. You see me on tour? But it's just like more so like, and it made me think, like, should I go back to school? Like, I was pondering for mad long. And I was like, nah, this is my plan.
It's crazy how much they're trained like to think like that. Like my grandmom to this day, y'all, to this day, I came back to Jersey a month ago, and she was just like, because my degree is in criminal justice and political science. So you're going to be the next politician, correct? And I'm just like, yo, I am 29. My career trajectory is not saying politician. Why do you want me to? And mind you, I already got one degree. I have a bachelor's degree. It's something about no, this like, you're just doing anything, especially you just being a Seventh-day Adventist.
Yeah.
That's a whole, like, if you grew up under a Christian, like a very conservative household, the whole, like, you're in the entertainment industry and you acting and talking on TV, you with the, you know what I'm saying?
Going to hell.
You go to church and pray for it.
Yes, you know she lost. Wait till you every altar.
Bill Saul's coming. Look at that.
Yes, every altar calling, everybody's like, is he going to stand up? Why do I need to stand up? I talk to the Lord every day. Not according to them.
I was going to hell at least.
But no, that just conditioning into that, you know, what they have done. And like I said, like you spare them, you give them grace. I know it comes from a good place, but
we have to have an honest conversation.
We do.
And here's the thing: I'd rather the short-term resentment than the short-term riffle than the long-term resentment.
Definitely.
If you would have stayed and said, you know, I'll be a nurse, I would have done whatever. 20 years from now, you'd probably hating your parents. I never learned what I could do.
Exactly. And now we have a way better relationship. They understand what I'm doing. My mom's always like, oh, you're going to Porta to DJ? And they understand now. And they're like, wow, you can be successful with what you do. And they still don't know exactly what I do.
Yeah, that's okay.
But they trust me, which was the
Yes.
most important thing. It took a lot of years,
But you were brave enough, and that's huge.
But you know,
it was hard.
And it's not even just our parents. People can't see sometimes what they've never done before. You know what I'm saying? So that's another reason why I've forgiven constantly, because I felt a lack of support. I had to do most. Anything that comes down to do with my career, no support really came from my family. Like you said, like you grew up in a Christian church, so they already outcast you. Now you're just out there looking crazy and you just out there in the streets living your best life. But I had to realize, like, Mika, like, they don't know anybody on TV. They don't know anybody who wants their own talk show. They don't know nobody with a dream like that. They don't see it. You have to do it for them to be like, oh, okay. And that goes the same with our peers. And I think a lot of times we're hard on people who don't support our businesses, don't support our brands. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes they're not our demographic.
They're not.
But sometimes they can't see it.
But you can't expect people to see what God birthed from you.
Come on.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, like, he ain't birthing in them, so you can't expect them to feel the same way you feel.
Yes.
I even have to learn, and it could be someone as close as your spouse. Like, that you have to be comfortable with them not being as excited.
Yes.
And that's okay. So let me. I want to just do a quick round robin, and if you guys can answer this in a sentence or two, and I want to get ready to wrap this up. To be successful, like, what would it take to be successful as an entrepreneur? Like, for the person who's contemplating chasing their dreams, or like, but they're nervous, like, what would you tell them? We're gonna go around this way, like this. We'll start with you.
Passion, self-awareness, and digging so deep in yourself that you face your fears.
That's good.
Self-awareness is crazy. Sorry.
It is.
No, I would kind of piggyback. It's kind of the same thing. I feel like you definitely have to be so passionate about it that no matter what, because if it's just a phase you're going through, or just something you're kind of curious in, that's not gonna last. Cause like, the days gonna get rough, finances gonna be rough. You might not get calls, people might not buy your stuff, your content might not get a lot of views, whatever it is. So you got that passion, and I think overall, your work ethic. If you could outwork anybody, you could be this talented or you could be this talented. I've been around people that are like super talented, and you're like, what happened to so-and-so? How come he never get blah, blah, blah? Because he just work hard. And you see somebody who's like, that person can't really sing. Yeah, but he works hard. He's in the studio every day.
That's
he
right.
does this and that. He goes study his scales, he practices.
That's
so
right.
that's where he's at.
Yeah.
So you can be mad that so-and-so is more talented than you there, but I feel like if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you gotta have that work ethic. To me, that's the biggest thing. The passion and the work ethic.
I think, like they said, passion. Definitely need the passion. Learning how to take the wins and the losses, because that's going to come big time, especially the losses. You have to learn how to handle that. And main thing, having clientele. A lot of people, it's
He's
true
like,
though. A
real
lot of
talk.
people open up businesses and they don't even know who they're going to be selling to. So I think that's really key
That's
too,
the
knowing that you have something to sell people. So I think that's super key.
That's wisdom.
Yes.
Wisdom.
I would say faith, to every entrepreneur. I don't know who people believe in at this point, you know what I'm saying, but I believe in God, and I know if it had not been for God, I would not be where I'm at today. You know what I'm saying? Like, he really keeps me sustained, like, for real. You're gonna have lonely days. There's gonna be days you crying. And no one's gonna be able to understand. You're gonna feel like no one got your back. But if you can find a higher power to believe in, like I said, I believe in God. That's the reason why I'm here, and a non-compromising will. That means by any means necessary, you keep going. No matter how deep the cuts are, you keep. When I tell you guys, I have looked at my bank account and I had $25 to my name, and I showed up on a scene, and honestly, I would walk out places and people would think I'm the billionaire. It's not about the pockets, it's about being rich in here. You know what I'm saying? So you have to have a non-compromising will. If you have that, you're going to the top. Because that's where people start to fall off. You know what I'm saying? Like, they buckle and they fold because it gets too heavy and it looks like it's caving in. No one prepares people for those caving in moments. You know what I'm saying? There are gonna be days when you up and you got the whole world looking at you, and then in a split of a moment, nobody's looking at you. You got $25. Only your non-compromising will is gonna get you back up. So every entrepreneur, non-compromising will.
Skin of an alligator.
Period.
That's true. Oh, well, I cry every day, so I understand. Trust me. I cry every day.
That comes with it.
Well, I think there's four things that, for me at least, there's four things that I think an entrepreneur should have. I think letting go of ego is a huge step in taking your failures, in being confident, not even confident, but just knowing that you can adapt to whatever situation comes. That's three so far. And then the final one is love. For me, every single thing that I do is with love. If there's a project that comes along to me and the money's right, and there are people who come to me all the time and they you know, I don't take it because I don't feel the love. I've fired clients because I don't believe in their ethos. Everything for me has to be the foundation built upon love.
Amen.
Right.
Elbows.
That was good.
Look, guys, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I think this is one of the most productive seat at the table conversations we had.
Hey,
We
appreciate it.
Now, look, there's a lot of, and I want to direct specific to the folks who are watching too. Like, if you were contemplating whether you want to be an entrepreneur or not, and the biggest holdup is you're scared because of what your parents might think or what your friends might think, I think the reality is you need to have those tough conversations with them and just say, look, this is what I'm passionate about. I don't think we fail enough. So I just want to just encourage you. You guys heard from everybody today. Don't be scared of failure and worry about what people think, but more importantly, just be true to what God blessed you with. Like, what is it that He birthed in you, and live with it. Resources will come. All that stuff will come. All these famous billionaires you see, they all started somewhere really poor that no one ever cared about, whether it be a garage or whatever the case is. So, Taz, Shy, L, E, Love, thank y'all so much. This is a really good episode.
Yay,
Thank you.
Cool. Whew. That was good, guys.
Yeah.